Here in Australia, they call me the Crocodile Man.
Steve Irwin was born on February 22, 1962 in Essendon, Australia, to Robert and Lynn Irwin. His father was an ordinary man with an ordinary job. Yes, people, he was a plumber. Bet you thought I was going to say something about reptiles, didn't you? And his mother was a maternity nurse. Steve grew up loving animals, especially reptiles. He caught his first venomous snake at the age of 6. He often was late for school because he would have his mom pull off the side of the road so he could save a lizard from being hit by a car. This is the only contact with animals or reptiles Steve had until 1970, when his family and he moved to Queensland. This is where the Irwin family tradition began.
But hang on a minute, what's that?
Once arriving in Queensland, his mother and father opened a reptile park while Steve was very involved with everyday duties. Steve would help with the feeding of the animals and even help with the maintenance and care of the animals. Steve at this time had no interest in reptiles until his 6th birthday. Now think back, what did you get for your 6th birthday? Probably a nice video game for us boys or a pair of shoes for you girls. Well, Steve got the exact opposite of those normal gifts, and the exact opposite of what any ordinary mother would want their son to get. Yes, Steve's father gave him a shrub python, and so the story begins of Steve Irwin and the reptiles. As I have already mentioned, Steve had no interest in reptiles until he began to be around them, and when he actually owned his very own, well, this sparked the light. Once he received the shrub python, his dad began teaching him about different reptiles and their different characteristics. It only took 3 years for him to go from handling snakes to messing with crocodiles. Yes, by the age of 9, Steve was very involved with crocodiles. Within a year, he was becoming known for his crocodile trapping skills and getting recruited to remove crocodiles from unwanted areas. He would be called to a well-populated community and remove a crocodile, and then return it to his parents' reptile park. This led to him becoming a volunteer for the Queensland government's East Coast Crocodile Management Program.
Crocs rule!
At the age of 29, Steve was given the park from his parents, where he became the manager of the park. He then renamed it to the Australia Zoo. This was a big step for young Steve. Not only did he now have to manage a zoo, but this is also when he met his wife, Terry Raines. 8 months after they met, they were married. And then they probably had one of the most interesting honeymoons ever heard of. Yes, they went crocodile trapping, of course. They took along a camera crew and filmed this trip, which eventually became the first episode of the TV show, The Crocodile Hunter. 7 years later, they extended their family by having a baby girl, followed by a son. Although Steve Irwin was not really ever noted for his contributions to science, he did, however, do a few things to help. Every time you would see him, he would be working with some different type of animal or reptile. One of the biggest things he was interested in was keeping crocodiles from becoming extinct. This is what inspired him to go and do what he did in capturing crocodiles in populations and putting them in captive so they would not be killed in the populated areas. One of Steve's biggest things was promoting environmentalism by showing his excitement about the natural world instead of preaching to the people. He was concerned with the conservation of endangered animals and the land clearing to lose habitats. He urged people to take part in the considerate tourism and not support illegal poaching through the purchase of items such as turtle shells. He considered conservation to be the most important part of his work. Quote, "I consider myself a wildlife warrior. My mission is to save the world's endangered species." End quote. Along with his love and contributes to conservation, Steve also made a tribute to the reptile world. Ezwala Orina is a turtle that was named after him. Sadly, this species is now on the endangered list and could be extinct if something is not done. So even though Steve Irwin was not a laboratory scientist, he was a very well-known zoologist. Because of his great love of animals, he was successful in helping many animals from becoming extinct. On September 4, 2006, Steve was on an underwater film session along the Great Barrier Reef. This is also the day he lived up to his quote, saying that he was a wildlife warrior. He was snorkeling above a giant ray when unexpectedly it raised its barb and struck Steve in the chest near his heart. He pulled the barb out of his chest, but it wasn't enough and passed away immediately after. Steve Irwin will always be remembered for his animal and reptile skills and his love for the environment.
Crikey. Hey, see you later, mate.